Hello.
Hey there.
Welcome back to In My Head. Hey, Ben.
How's it going?
Good. I'm flying blind here.
Perfect. All right.
Watch this.
You flying blind?
Cam.
Yes.
Check it out.
I made sure I did my hair for this week to make it nicer.
Good.
What do you think?
Hey, it looks great.
Thank you.
So, Ben, we are excited. You know why we're excited?
Why are we excited?
Because if you take this mug and it's full of coffee and you start turning it sideways,
That is an awful noise. I hate that so much.
I wanted to turn it sideways so you could see that it was Boba Fett on the side. But there's coffee in here, and if I tilted it, it would spill over me.
Yeah.
Hey, welcome back to In My Head.
Hello.
Here's what's going to happen.
Oh, I did it.
We're going to go to our website of the week. So
We are going to go?
this out.
Fantastic.
Okay, today's website. Ben, bring that website up.
The website.
It's up in the bottom of the screen there.
It's up at the bottom of the stream.
Under Chrome.
Under Chrome? Yes, there it is.
Okay.
Perfect.
So if you guys never been to this website, it's called theuselessweb.com.
It's very fun.
And if you click on please, it'll take you to an absolute useless website. So here's what we're gonna do. We've already selected a few. This one's called amialright.com. So bend the tab up there.
Tab, all right.
You are all right.
Oh, good.
Am I all right? You are all right. All right, the next one is called Build a Shruggy. It's the next tab. Ben.
It's the next one over. Right.
Okay, so Ben, if you just move that stuff around.
Oh, right. Yeah, we can build some fancy stuff like,
Right.
I'll build like a nose.
There you go.
So these are very useful websites for children's ministry.
Yeah, it's actually kind of abstract.
Right, look at that. I made
perfect.
the skate ramp.
Okay, perfect. All right, let's take us back in. Take us back into.
Okay.
Click on the main screen there, Ben.
Yeah, the what? The main screen?
Click on the main window. Otherwise,
Yes,
I don't
sir.
have controls.
Right.
Click on the main window there,
Yeah,
Ben.
there you go.
You know, I click on the main window. I don't.
Yes, sir.
There we go. Watch this, everybody. See?
We're back.
We're back. Okay, so today's episode. Hang on one second. There we go. Is that better, Ben?
Yeah, I'm all good.
Today's episode is called The Children's Ministry from the Perspective of a Senior Pastor. But we're going to get to that in a little bit. We have a special guest today. This is a show, for those of you that are watching for the first time, about the behind-the-scenes creativity of kids ministry. There, I can't hear myself echo anymore. It's driving me crazy. You ever try to talk to somebody and you're echoing in the background?
Oh, man.
You know what? This is a live show, and it's not perfect, and neither is kids ministry. But I tell you what, listening to yourself echo is, I think it's a form of torture, Ben.
It's Speech Jammer.
It's a speech jammer.
Yeah, that's what it does.
Like,
it makes it
if
so
you
hard
ever-
to talk.
Oh, it's absolutely horrendous, and it drives me crazy.
Yeah.
So, once again, we have our phone camera. Check it out.
Oh, yeah, we got it going.
It's going. Is this a good angle, Ben?
Yeah, it's perfect. Can we do it from now on? We need the cameras like that facing up.
Would we win good awards for this?
We do. Well, if we want to recap last week.
Yes. Recapping last week.
Yeah, so it was really good, but we did an event. We spun the wheel at the end, and we have a special guest who will be interviewing the special guest.
Right.
So that'll be exciting.
Hootsie will be interviewing our special guest today.
Right.
And but I want to go back to last week. So last week I made a comment that curriculum can be considered technology, that if you overuse it or use it incorrectly, that it could be very bad. And so I had a great conversation with a pastor friend of mine, and he countered me on some things. And so I said, that's the beauty of this show, is to have a conversation about specifically kids ministry, but it can really be about anything that's relating to kids ministry. And so I think having a conversation leads to great results because I have one perspective, and Ben, you have one perspective. Hey Ben, what's the word of the day?
The word of the day is brioche.
No, I don't like that. And now you get booed.
No, man.
We all have our own perspectives, and having conversation, as long as we use the Bible, the Word, as our source of truth, as our foundation, then we can have a healthy conversation. So my friend is going to come on the show in just a few short weeks, and we're going to talk about curriculum. So that's going to be a lot of fun. But I want to introduce the book of the month. This is a book that if you are working with kids, you must purchase this book because this book is a game changer. So... All right, so our book of the month is called Maximum Entertainment 2.0. In fact, I'm going to go like this. Watch this. Yeah. Maximum Entertainment 2.0, written by Ken Weber. That's a weird angle. I apologize for that angle.
Is this the book of the month or the book of the week?
This is called Book of the Month.
Month, wow, okay. So
it's called Maximum Entertainment 2.0. And basically, this is director's notes for magicians and mentalists, but take magicians and mentalists out of it because I'm going to read you guys something that this is just mind blowing here. My definition of entertainment is anything that purposely transports your mind into another world. Boredom, the opposite of entertainment, is a consequence of being forced into a situation beyond your control. Being entertained at its crux can be defined as paying attention. And raise your hand if you work with kids, if you want those kids paying attention.
Absolutely.
Is your hand being raised, Ben?
It is being raised.
Okay, raise your hand.
Yes.
Now put your right hand over your heart. Okay, and say, I, Ben.
I, Ben.
Promise.
Promise.
To do whatever my dad says.
To sometimes attempt.
That's called disobedience.
I will do what my father says.
And whenever he says.
During the weekdays.
No, right now.
Right now.
You said it. You hand over your heart. Okay, Ben, I'm switching to mobile cam. I want you to get down on the ground.
What?
And I want you to pretend that you're a dog who got his leg caught in a bear trap. Here we go. Switching to mobile cam.
Okay.
Here we go.
What?
This is happening. No, you got to get on the ground and like thrash. I'm not convinced, Ben.
You're convinced.
I'm not convinced.
Okay, like what? Caught in a bear trap?
Caught in a bear trap.
Okay, like so. Ow! I'm a dog, and my leg's caught in a bear trap.
What is happening on this show? People are. Is the view count going down? We're at 6, so hey, we're doing good.
So
we just cut to Pastor Sean, our special guest. It's not too late to leave, Pastor Sean. You can leave, and they've only seen your face for a split second. All right. Speaking of ridiculous things, by the way, all that to say, Maximum Entertainment 2.0, I have made so many notes in this book. Everything from where to stand on the stage, like how to communicate, how to share, how to use your hands, how to look people in the eye, all that stuff is in there. So get that book and get it today. A long time ago, Ben, did you realize that we have been making videos for almost 20 years? I think a little over 20 years.
A little over, yeah, because it's been as long as I remember.
Right. So I found a video that we made. I think it was our 5th year of kids ministry.
Oh, no way. So if it was 5th year of kids ministry, was I 6?
I don't remember. But this is something that I don't think I would do it like this again. This is before Professor Smigley was even a character.
Oh, yeah.
We have a character, in fact, currently a character called Professor Lucinda Sprocket. And this is a character is going to be kind of an evil bad guy character. But my friend Jacob Besk, so Jacob, you're not watching this, I know you're not, because you're working in a crane somewhere in Texas. But Jacob was one of my assistants in kids ministry, and he literally said, whatever you want me to do, I'll do, I don't care.
He was the first Caleb.
He was like Zach was the first Caleb.
Oh, that's true.
Jacob was like, literally just said, I don't care, do whatever you want. And
that was a mistake. That was a mistake.
I want you guys to see this. This is like from the old days, and this video is ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
Take a look.
exist. I have created the evolutionary evolution enigmanator. This device will help Clubby here to evolve 3,000 years. He will be a genius. Let's begin. Faster, Clubby. The faster you go, the more smarter you become. He's on fire, I say! He's on fire!
Yeah, like I said, it's a very dangerous thing to say to you, in my experience. I'll do whatever. Now,
Yeah.
the sacrifice, oh my goodness.
So what happened
Awesome.
in that is one of the fireworks went off right in front of his face. That's why he flinched. And then a firework actually burned his shoulder. It like blew apart the jacket. And so, Jacob, thank you for helping us plow the ground for becoming less dangerous kids pastors now, being more considerate. So thank you. And there you go. It's a little video out of the gallery.
Do you want to take a second and explain the spiritual value of that video?
The spiritual value of that video, for all you parents that say, what does that have to do with God? Okay, so peer pressure. You have... Why am I hearing something in the background still?
On my computer, maybe?
For all the parents that say, what does that have to do with church? I'll say this. Peer pressure.
Right.
Make sure you follow good leadership. And just because someone's making you do something doesn't mean you have to do it.
Right, like ride a bike with the firecrackers going on.
Right.
Yeah.
And Clubby was taken advantage of. And don't let people take advantage of you.
Yeah. Sure, there we go.
There we go.
Boom, value. Okay.
What's the verse? And Jesus wept.
There we go.
That's
First,
the spirit. That's the verse.
there's a whole lesson right there. Just use that video.
Yes. I want to point out something real quick before we go to our special guest. And I'm going to bring up this image. Check it out. That's
Cool
one
website
of
to
the
check out.
images. That's the cool website to check out page. That monkey holding the globe, reading an iPad, I generated it in AI. And I thought it'd be funny to put that on the cool websites to check out. So, fun fact. You like that, Ben?
That's pretty neat.
Awesome. All right, well, we're going to get into the interview. It is time to introduce a really good friend of mine. I met this man right before we went on a missions trip to Spain. I was hired to make the video, and Sean O'Kelly was a youth pastor working in our district, and we went to Spain to see Scott and Marisa Smith to give them the keys to a Speed the Light vehicle. We did all kinds of stuff while we were there. But one of the most important things that happened on this trip was I found beautiful music. We were walking and through these beautiful castles, and these music was like bouncing off the walls, and I heard this music, and I thought, this music is going to be the soundtrack to this documentary we're making. And I found this guitarist, and I bought his CD, and his name was Torquematic. And I went back to the group, and Scott Smith, the missionary, I said, all proud, I was like, I got this guy's CD. I'm gonna really like put this. This is the background music. And Scott goes, that guy's a hack. He's terrible. That's not Spanish music. And Sean never let it go. Like, to this day, I guarantee he's gonna bring it up.
Oh, yeah.
He just could not let it go. He had to just keep rubbing it in and rubbing it in. Apparently I have terrible taste in music. But I'm really proud that my friend Sean O'Kelly, who's a senior pastor at Adobe Church in Sonoma County, is on our show today. And our topic is, what is kids ministry according to a senior pastor? So Sean O'Kelly, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me. And yeah, the Torquematic story is like my favorite thing from that whole entire trip, when the missionary told you, like, oh, that music, he's homeless because he's that bad. And you thought you found a diamond in the rough, and you had not.
I did. Well, on that trip, I found that you have a huge heart for people, and you and we have the same sense of humor. You have a very dry sense of humor, can be sarcastic at times, and I just think that serves so well, you know?
Yeah, what you told me for this, you said, let you be the funny man. I'm just the straight man, senior pastor, like no jokes. So I'm doing exactly what you told me to do, like you said in the intro to Ben.
Okay, you're doing good so far. We're gonna get things going with a couple warm up questions. So just some lighthearted questions just to get the conversation going. What's wrong with church today? Just kidding.
Well,
I'm just kidding.
yeah, how much time do we have on this meeting? I think there's not a lot wrong. The church is still the church, and I think it's going to be okay.
It's gonna be okay because Jesus is still on the throne.
Yeah, I mean there are a lot of things wrong, but our job is to get the solutions to them, right?
That's right, and that was a fake question, by the way, in case. And if you guys have any questions for Mr. Sean, then write them into the comments, and we'll do our best to answer them. So, Sean, tell us who you are, where you're from, about your family, all that good stuff.
Yeah, my name is Sean O'Kelly. I am the pastor at Adobe Christian Church in Petaluma in Sonoma County. I have an amazing wife. We've been married about 18 years. I just have 5 kids, so small family, and their ages, I don't even know. When you have 5 kids, their ages don't matter. So I got a bunch of kids. We've been here at the church in Petaluma for almost a year and a half now. Before that, we planted a church. We were there for about 8.5 years. And before that, did youth ministry and kids ministry for a little while. So I'm a young senior pastor still, but been doing it for a little while.
Well, I have massive respect for you. You started off in youth ministry, right?
Yeah, I did youth and kids. It was just a way they could pay me more money. I hated it, but I did it for a year and a half, and then I told the pastor, "Hey, you got to find someone else to do this. I don't like kids ministry."
And that was at a pretty small church.
Yeah, probably 150 people.
Yeah. I wish more people in ministry could get the experience of working at a small church where there's not enough resources and not enough help. You know, sometimes working at a bigger church, I think you get a skewed look at what ministry is. So tell us about when you were having to work with kids. Can you talk about it back when you were a youth pastor and a kids pastor at the same time?
Yeah, they told me though, you'll be the kids pastor, but we have an amazing team and a director who's going to run it all, and all your job it will be to oversee the ministry. And like my first month when that church hired me, the director died, and so I had to teach kids ministry every week for a year and a half.
Wait, they literally died?
Yeah, like with like the first month.
Oh.
So
So then you
so
basically took over. And what were some of the
yeah.
things when you were doing working with kids that you found very hard? Not a trap
So
question, not a trick question.
no, yeah, I remember we had this kid. I do remember his name. It was like my first couple of months doing it, and he had one of those staple removers that you used to like pull out of papers and the wall. And he like stabbed his sister with one of those in kids'
Oh,
church. And I remember thinking, this kids ministry stuff, I'm not cut out for it. This is not what I signed up for. And that lady, I really like, she abandoned me. She went to go see Jesus and left me with the ministry. But there weren't a huge volunteer team. I had like 30 kids, and it was me and one other leader for a season. And you know, it was fun. Like, I didn't like kids ministry, so like I'd sermon prep for youth for hours and hours. For kids ministry, 5 minutes before church, I'd pop open the weekly curriculum, take a glance at it, and then I'd entertain kids for about an hour and a half.
wow. So you have a pretty rough entry into kids ministry. How much, as a senior pastor, how much of a would you say it's important to have a calling to be in kids ministry versus just fulfilling a need?
Yeah, I think I did it to fill a need, and I didn't think I was very good at it, but the kids seemed to like me, and I could kind of wing it and get by. As a senior pastor now, I think it's the most important ministry in the church for us, more important than what we do in the church on Sundays. And I also think the calling side of it is we need people who like are passionate about it, who God's called to do it, to be doing it, and to have opportunity and to have a platform and to get to use their God-given talents and abilities to minister to, not the next generation, but like the now generation. These kids are who we need to reach now, or we won't have them later on. And so it's super important. I don't think God's calling less people to kids ministry than he might have been in previous generations.
Yeah.
But it's been tough to find those people who feel called and are willing to step into it recently.
So let's go back to when you were a youth pastor, and didn't someone come in to assist you, or up to the time you left, you had to do both?
So like after a year and a half, I told the pastor, hey, you got to bring someone in. So he brought in someone else. They did kids for a little while. We had babies, 3 babies during that time. And then I moved to just youth and did some missions and outreach, and someone else stepped in to do kids ministry.
Okay. So when your senior pastor was looking for a kids pastor, because our topic today is kids ministry from a senior pastor's perspective, what was your old senior pastor like looking for?
Ooh, that's a good question. My guess, I'd have to ask him. My guess is someone to do the job, since Sean is unwilling to do it. I'm not sure. It was I had a kids pastor one day, and then my youth and kids pastor said, hey, I'm only going to do youth going forward, so replace me. So I'm not sure what he was looking for other than someone to do kids. And that might actually be a common thing. I have a bunch of senior pastor friends. I think there's a good number of churches that have people doing kids ministry who are they were the ones willing to step into it.
Yeah. Well, when I was asked by the children's pastor at a church of 60 people that I worked at, he asked me and I told him no. He said, would you help me in kids ministry? And I said, no, I think working with kids is hard and I don't want to do it. And then he asked me to be in a play, and I liked when people laughed at the dumb stuff that I did. And then he asked me again, he goes, you can do the same dumb stuff in kids church. And I think it was brilliant of him to really tap into the thing that like got my attention. But I don't know if most ministries have, what I'm trying to say is, they don't have the ability to look into the talent of a person because they see the people in their church. So when your old pastor was looking for a children's pastor, you said he was just trying to find somebody who was willing.
Yeah, he hired someone from the outside. I think that he had relationship with before, and kind of brought him on to the team.
Okay. As a senior pastor, you're now at Adobe Christian Church.
Yep.
And you were before at Rio Vista. What was the name of it? Rechurch?
Yeah, Rechurch.
You've had senior pastors who are friends. How big of a problem is, not problem, but like how big of a hardship is on churches right now in relation to finding kids pastors, would you say? And why do you think it is such a hardship?
Yeah, so let me give you an example. When I was hiring 5 years ago, or some odd, maybe 6 years ago, we put like an ad up on a staffing website for ministry leaders, and I had like 300 resumes in a week. When we recently put an ad up, I had 0 resumes in a month. And so some of it, I think, is just the time has changed. It's a different era even than it was 5, 6, 7 years ago. And so some of it maybe is COVID. I think some of it is the area we're in. We're in a tough area. It's maybe not as friendly to Christians or pastors. And so we've had people leave this region as well. And I don't know, as I talk to friends, I think it's like what I said earlier. I don't think God's calling fewer people, but I don't know if the sacrifice for so many people has felt worth it, and they've maybe seen that in churches, or they've worked in ministries where they felt like they didn't have room to use their gifts and they were just kind of put into a box, and so what's the point? But I talk to a lot. Everyone's looking for kids people, and so the few that have good opportunities. I think the highest quality people will have jobs forever.
Yeah.
And I think people who want an opportunity, I think there's probably lots of opportunity for someone who's willing to like get in on the ground floor and build something from scratch.
Yeah. So when it comes to kids, like people that work in churches, working with kids, how important is it that, well, I wanted to tap into like the talent side of things, but when your average Joe or Joette is sitting in church, their talents are not readily identified. They're just attending church. They've been maybe coming faithfully. What's a way that we could find those people in the church who are not just willing, but maybe also might have a calling to kids in the church? I don't know. I hope that's not too big of a question to ask.
No, I think when we were in Rio Vista, like my admin became our kids leader, and she was a great kids leader. And so maybe willingness is one of the criteria that should be on the checklist of if you're willing and anything you do unto the Lord, then I think anyone can do kids ministry well if you're like open to learning, or maybe you don't have the natural gifting, but you'd say like, well, let me go visit Sean and he'll teach me all these wacky things to do, and kids will like me too. And so we did that. And so willingness really is like a huge part of it, of someone who's just willing to say like, Lord, I maybe don't know all the answers or how to do all this, but I love the Lord. I love the church. I love kids.
Yeah.
And so I'm willing to figure this thing out. And so I don't know, that might be the biggest piece right now. And that was my experience when we didn't have anyone to hire from the outside. We looked within, and it was kind of that, you search near and far, and the one who's willing to say like, pick me, you just choose them, and then you work with them. And so I think that might be it.
The willingness factor, I think, is huge, because I think back to myself, and I've been in kids ministry for 27 years, and I had no qualifications other than I was a goofball and I was willing. And I think that, it was years later, my original pastor said, I wish I had the Sean then that exists now, because the Sean then just lit stuff on fire for no reason and didn't do it safely and burned the carpet and, almost burned the building down. And you kept getting in trouble with the cleaning lady because we kept taking stuff out of the kitchen in the church and not putting them back, and it was messy and it was really, really hard. So I'm wondering if in our churches, because I get this question a lot, is do you know anyone who can come run a kids program? And I don't, because those that are already serving are serving, but where do they exist? Like, so why do you think, as a senior pastor, I hate to use the word sexy, but I can't think of another word, like the attractiveness of kids ministry is so hard in a church? Like, if you were to say, hey, I want you to come do a startup, we're going to give you a Tesla, a little place to live, and you're going to have a 24-hour access card to a coffee shop at a nice old hipster coffee place, I think you would have people lined up down the block, right? But why do you think that kids ministry as a senior pastor is not attractive, or is hard to sell?
So I think it used to be like the bottom rung of the ladder, like you got to start here and work your way up. And so there was no prestige, there was no respect for it.
Right.
And we've been looking for someone for a little while. I just have considered recently, after a conversation with someone, we're going to change our title of the job to leadership pastor. Instead of looking for a kids pastor, I'll hire a leadership pastor and just make them be over kids. And I think that's a much more attractive title to people today than kids pastor, kids director, or I don't know. I think something to do with the fact that kids, like you said, it's not an attractive ministry, you're kind of pulled away from the limelight of, where attention or where you'd get recognition in most churches, maybe,
Yeah.
because you're not on the platform on a Sunday morning. You're on a different platform,
Yeah.
in a kid's space. And so I don't know if, in oh gosh, I'm not that old, but maybe I feel like I'm about to sound old.
I'm older than you.
In this like social media generation where
Yeah.
people just want followers and fame,
Right.
like I just think maybe we've replaced, like, it's really hard work to go do kids ministry and
Yeah.
to week in and week out be faithful to kids, whereas like you can get way more recognition in so many other avenues so
Right.
much easier, that seems to be more attractive a route even for ministry.
Yeah. I also, I remember back in the day, um, you just did it for free. Like you even if you had a Bible degree and you paid all this money for it, you go to a church and you just straight up work. But that doesn't work anymore. Like I think we're past that as a culture. But I don't think it's not important. I think you should still go work, and I think hard work is crucial. But I think to get the workforce back up, we're going to have to offer something extra, or you know, and I would like to get that into a moment about the micromanaging part of things. But my son Ben, who's my assistant in my kids ministry, has something to add.
Oh yeah, I had a quick question. Pastor Sean, with young ministers, I'm just now getting into it. I feel called to kids ministry. I feel it strongly in my life. It's something I'm called to do, but I'm curious as to why it's not more common in people like my age. I see it a lot in youth ministry, and I think we're looking around, but why? I mean, I know God's calling people. He's got to be calling people to do this, but where do you think what's going on with that? Like, this is probably for both of you. I know you both probably have some really good insight on this.
Yeah, if you want to mute your dad's ear so he can't hear me,
Oh boy.
why don't you just come work here? I'll give you a platform and hire you right now. So I don't think, like you said, I don't think God's calling fewer people. It's a matter of maybe the opportunities, or maybe young people are smarter than I was when I was newly saved and called to ministry, and like, I'll just go wherever they tell me to go, and I don't know anything, and it worked out well for me. I never found myself in a church that was difficult to be in, but I think you hear a lot of some bad stories of churches where people went to and then they died off of the vine from
Yeah.
ministry, and so those cautionary tales are probably more of what you hear than success stories. And so if you're like a young person wanting to get into kids ministry, you probably value your love for Jesus more than.
Did we lose
Oh
him?
no.
Here, come to me, Ben.
Oh yeah.
We'll get him back.
Maybe he dropped out. He's been censored.
He's been censored. We'll get him back.
There, he's
There
coming
he
back.
is.
We got it back. Okay, and boom.
Did
Welcome back.
You hated my answer. You're like, get this guy out of here.
I was actually trying to keep you from recruiting my son again.
I thought.
I'm just
I
kidding.
was like, he told me. He's like, don't talk about it.
No.
I don't know where
Okay,
I
you
cut
were.
off.
He was. Oh yeah, you were cut off. You're talking about young people, and they're calling it where they're passion. They fall off of Christ, or they fall off the divine. And then
Yeah, the
that's
part
where-
that you didn't hear was the most important part, filled with wisdom, but I forgot it now.
Oh darn.
Well, I want to ask you a question as a senior pastor. Or bring me back, Ben.
Oh, yeah,
There
you're
we go.
back.
How important is it to you? And this is not a test, Sean. I have so much massive respect for you that if I wasn't locked in where I am now, I would totally pack my bags and say, let's do some ministry together, bro, because I love your heart and your style of ministry. But as a senior pastor, if I were coming to you to interview, how important is having fun in the position to you as a senior pastor?
I think it's not the most important, but it's pretty high up there. Of ministry is hard enough.
Right.
There's challenging things that happen that you can't control. There's things that happen in the people's lives you're doing ministry to that you can't control. And
Right.
so, at least in the office during the week or with each other or the people you're doing ministry with, if you can't have fun with them, I don't know how longevity can be sustained. It's pretty high up there for what's needed.
Like, let me give you some what ifs. Say I was your kid's pastor, and I'm on a trial basis. You're like, let me try you out for a month, and we'll see. We'll talk at the end of the month to see if you're still here. You look out your office window, and I'm hauling a toilet up onto the top of the roof, and I'm filling it full of chocolate pudding, and then I put a bunch of like smoke bombs in it and like throw it off and like record it on video, and you come out and you go, "What's this about?" And I go, "Something cool for kids ministry." And you see me laughing like on the ground, rolling around. How healthy and needed is that? Do you think to have in kids pastors that are working in a church versus like the spiritual growth aspects? Because obviously we're not kids pastors just to have fun, but to see your kids pastor having fun and having the freedom to have fun, how important do you think that is?
I mean, I think if you're having fun, then probably the kids are having fun, and the kids having fun is pretty heavily tied into like their spiritual growth.
Yeah.
I think at that age, and their like draw to being at church and coming to church and forming relationships. So I think, right, it's probably super important. And if the kids pastor's not having fun, probably nobody is having fun. And if I saw that out my window, I would probably think like I think when I watch some of your videos with my kids, like they're laughing and I'm like, I don't get it, but I recognize like I don't have to get it if it's making them laugh, and then somehow a spiritual principle got slipped in, like that's a bonus.
Yeah.
And so I think it's super important, and I've come to the point where I just say like I don't have to get it. I need someone who gets it, someone who
Mm,
understands what kids need. I don't have to get it. I don't have to be the one doing it. I probably won't be the one, jumping off a roof or throwing
right.
toilets filled with smoke bombs.
Yeah.
But I can appreciate the value behind whatever the purpose is with doing something like that.
Yeah. Well, I remember the conversation that we had where I asked you, and this isn't a no, just for anyone watching, because I know this is on the youth side of the district, so that I
Oh
don't, youth
gosh.
pastors, I don't want you to think you're not as important, okay? But I asked you the question, could a senior pastor, I would say a family pastor, like a children's pastor with a focus on family, and an administrator effectively run and grow a church?
Are you
Like
asking
what's
me?
your, I'm asking you, yeah, sorry.
Oh, yeah, I think that's probably what you need. It's what we started with when we started church with no people. We had three people. I shouldn't say no in case those three watch. We had three people, and we had a couple interns come out with us who were willing to do kids, and we started a church with almost no people, with just kids ministry help and then admin help. And so that church was doing pretty good. Everything else
Yeah.
could be done with different volunteers and stuff, but our main focus was kids, and then kind of the back end like internal office side. And that was a pretty effective, decent way to do church. We found, I think, some form of success with the church we were doing. But to me, priority wise, like those are the key things in church now. I think it always used to be, 20, 30 years ago, you got to get the youth worship person
Right.
to come, and they'll do both. And that's all that matters in a church: have youth
Right.
ministry, have good worship. And I don't know, we had worship that needed work
Yeah.
in our first few years, but we grew just fine with mediocre worship because parents with kids were coming and their kids loved it and the families loved it. And so to me, it's top, like number one thing that's needed at the
Yeah.
church now.
I think the importance for the person to be progressive Because if you hired someone who's willing, say, but they're like, I only do this one way, and it doesn't matter, I'm never going to change my ways. I think you could shoot yourself in the foot, because this person is not going to change with what kids need these days. Someone who's flexible, willing to learn, willing to work on teams, and the senior pastor willing to let them grow into the position, provided they don't burn the church down. Those kind of things.
We actually wanted the church to burn down where we could use a new building. I can say that now that I'm there. Insurance wouldn't have appreciated it before, but yeah, that don't burn the church down is like the golden rule in kids ministry. Anything else, like, I don't care how you do kids ministry. Are kids enjoying coming to church? Are they making friends? Are they connecting with spiritual leaders? Do they love coming to church? That's what I care about. I don't care the mechanisms or the curriculum or really the nuts and bolts. I don't want to get involved in it.
I don't know how to frame this next question, but and I don't want it to be a rhetorical question, but how important to you? Well, let me ask it this way: would you rather have someone as a senior? Okay, let me erase the white erase board here. You're a senior pastor who's actually currently looking for a kids pastor, right?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of really great senior pastors that are in the same shoes. They're looking for a kids pastor. What do you think is the biggest obstacle to finding the kids pastor? And once you find the kids pastor, and I'm not saying for you specifically, but like, do you think that there's a temptation to want to say to the up and coming kids pastor, the potential hire, this is what we want you to do, versus use the gifts and talents and grow, and we'll grow in this position with you? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it probably depends on the church. It probably depends on the pastor. Everybody has their own things that they want to do, or every church has its own kind of local mission and whatever they value. So I don't think that's wrong. I think some churches, if they say this is what we want, then you find somebody who can fit into that mold. Like for me personally, I'm looking for probably the right person who's do what you want to do, but here's what we're trying to do as a church. We want to reach lost people. We want to make people who know how to make disciples. And I think that can happen in so many different ways. Like, I don't get too bogged down in the here is how you have to do it, or my way is the best way. My way is probably not even a very highly rated way to do it. It's just the only way I know. And so I'm happy to collaborate and let you do what you want to do, especially if there's results. How do you argue with that? And then what are results? That's probably changed. The metrics we use coming out of the last couple of years, I think everything's different. So for me, I try to have more of a blank canvas than a direct, like, here's your marching orders of how you have to do it.
Well, as a senior pastor, and I'm gonna transition to the next segment here in just a moment, but as a senior pastor, how much of a child expert do you feel like, do you feel like pressured that you have to be? Let me rephrase the question. As a senior pastor, how much understanding of child development, other than raising your own kids, do you feel like you have to have, versus entrusting that to another person that's going to lead your kids ministry?
That's a good question. I don't know that I need a child development expert. I think the people are the same. I think that passion is the same. It doesn't matter what demographic you're in. I think, like we said earlier, like, willingness is the same. And so I don't want someone probably with a child psychology degree. You're going to come in and it won't be fun, or developmentally I don't think that's what could you imagine that in your kids ministry, someone come in and tell you all the developmentally inappropriate things that are taking place? Like, you can just tell, right? It's that gut level response of what's taking place. But no, I don't want the expert. I think I want the maybe raw passion that can be worked out and gain experience. and and so yeah, no, I don't want someone giving me a textbook response of how
Yeah.
ministry should be done.
Well, Sean, that's one of the things I've always loved about you is uh, you're very. I know you use the word progressive again, but very progressive in your thinking. Like, when you said,
I'm going to
If
lose my
Mr. Beast
credential.
can, what's that?
I said I'm going to lose my credential for you saying that I'm progressive.
Yeah, progressive.
Yeah, progressive. Not that kind of progressive. But when you said if Mr. Beast can open 300 hamburger stands in one day, then why do we struggle to open a church?
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. You have to be able to look at what's happening out there and to be able to mold to it or bend to it. And a child psychologist coming in is going to be relying on their credentials and their diploma. And I'm not saying they couldn't. I'm not going to down anyone with that kind of experience, of course. But it's that I like what you said when you got to feed the passion. And I remember when my senior pastor sent me to lay leadership conferences in Sacramento, and that's exactly what it did. Is it fueled my passion and it opened my eyes to new things. And basically, he gave me a room that he said, "Do whatever you want, just don't burn the church down." But the thing I'd like to add to that is that more than just giving someone a room and a space is respecting that person enough to equip with training, send them to conferences, send them, basically equip and help mature their passion. Because otherwise, you just either have a kid in a playground that's just breaking stuff, or you're having someone just rely on curriculum, and then it gets boring. Like if Pastor Greg were to come in and tell me, and I've told him this, if you were to come in and tell me this is what I want you to do each Sunday, no more shenanigans, no more of that stuff, I give it 2 weeks and I'd probably be heading for the door. I just found I would find myself feeling soulless, and that I'm very happy to have had 27 years of kids saying things like, "I want to be a kids pastor when I grow up," or they want to run up and they want to latch onto my ankle and they don't want to let go. I feel like, okay, there's something's right is happening. I can't quite define it. I don't know if I could write a book on it yet, but I feel like the passion and fun and fueling and resourcing that passion, I think, like you said, it's an important part of finding a kids pastor.
Yeah, well, and all the tools are available, right? Someone who doesn't know anything about running ministry,
Right.
that is easy to equip someone
Yes.
with if they're passionate and excited and called and willing. Like those are the things, the intangibles that you can't teach that to someone.
Yeah. Well, I want to say before we move on to your the last part of this interview, you are an incredible senior pastor, and I've talked to a lot. And I'm not going to do the comparison game, but if I were to find somebody, you're the first person I would send them to, because I love you and I've shared many meals together, and I love your perspective on collaboration and fueling passion, because I think that's what a lot of senior pastors need, and that's why I wanted to have you in this conversation instead of someone maybe who is set in their ways, or is a micromanager. But
No
you also
comment.
know. Go ahead.
No, I said no comment.
No comment. uh, I am glad you took this interview, because I didn't know if the whole Torquematic thing would be a negative in your eyes and say, well, this guy obviously doesn't have good taste or whatever.
I think you're a good, amazing, creative kids ministry expert. I think your taste in Spanish homeless musicians is terrible.
I think that just deserves this. Nothing?
Nothing.
Wow. When you
Was
press
it
a
the
button and nothing
applause button?
happens. I was trying to hit the applause button,
Yeah.
but
It ain't working. Darn it.
are you going to give me some delayed applause, Ben?
I got it. I don't got it.
This show has gone off the rails.
Oh,
Wow.
wrong one.
He does the boo instead. Well, Pastor Sean, I'm going to pass the torch to our guest interviewer. He's got a couple questions for you. He's a bit of a nutcase. He is a part of the Nut House. But Hootsie has some questions for you. But before I bring Hootsie on, my friend, and I just want to say thank you for being on this, for being willing to answer questions. And anyone else watching this right now or in the future, consider going to Adobe Christian Church in Sonoma County. I'm not just saying this because Pastor Sean's on the show. I literally think it could be the best place you could do kids ministry at. Be willing and call Sean. I wish I should have put your number across the bottom right here.
They can email
The
me.
email. You know what I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna follow this video up with an email or information. Is that okay with you, Pastor Sean?
Yeah, anything you want to do.
Okay.
And thank you for having me on. It's always good to chat with you.
Oh, always. All right, Ben, talk to Sean for a second while I go get Hootsie.
Hi, Pastor Sean.
Hey, so you're looking for a job, right? I'll just recruit you right now on the podcast.
It's great. I don't think he can hear us right now. We can talk. We can talk
good.
freely.
Yeah, just tell him I'm leaving. Like,
He's-
pack your bag right now.
Yeah. Hey, Dad, I gotta go. I got an appointment. No, just kidding. Well, the next part of this interview is actually going to be hosted with another special guest. I don't want to spoil anything, but how nervous are you?
I mean, so I watched last week's episode.
You do.
So I cheated, I guess. But I have no idea what to expect. But I know this. My kids who watch all your guys' stuff, who know all the characters, they're going to think I'm a celebrity when I show them this later on. And so I'm excited. They'll be like, Sean, that's amazing. They don't care about me. I'm not famous in my own house. But that I get to talk to a character and that I got to do this, they'll be excited.
Oh, that is awesome. Oh, that is so cool. That they're going to be excited. Well, I think we're ready. Okay, so without further ado, I bring you Hootsie the yard owl.
Well, hello there, Pastor Sean.
Oh, Hootsie, you're a little too low.
What?
Oh, we can barely see it. There we go. Wait, to your left, Hootsie. Is it left? Nope, wrong left. There you go.
I don't know what's going on here. Can you see me?
Yes.
Yeah, we can see it.
Hey, Sean.
Hey,
Hey, how's it going?
it's going well.
Hey, I got some question for you.
Okay, hit me with
If
them.
you're out in the street and you're playing with a ball and you get hit by a Mack truck, what are you gonna do next?
I'd call 911 probably.
How are you gonna call 911 when you don't have any hands? I forgot to tell you that you didn't have hands in this scenario.
Voice activated phone calls.
I got a wisdom nugget for you, Pastor Sean. Are you ready
Okay.
to hear a wisdom nugget?
Yeah, let me hear this wisdom nugget.
If you're ever looking for a kids pastor, don't call Sean and ask for Ben, because Ben is a slacker.
Hey!
That was very specific wisdom.
Do you have any questions for me, Sean?
What kind of tree do you live in?
I live in a tree with a big hole in it. You could call it Hootsie's Hole.
Okay.
Hootsie.
Hey, Sean!
Yeah.
Guess what?
What?
You gotta get real close to your microphone.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Get your ear close to the speaker.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Hello. Did you enjoy that?
I did. Thank you.
Okay, I just have one more question.
Okay.
What are all the names of your children?
Oh, my kids in order of age are Chloe, Hannah, Abigail, Lydia, and Caleb.
I just came up with a nickname for you if you want to call them all at the same time.
Okay.
Krakatoa! So if you're ever in the kitchen and you want them to do dishes, you just say, Krakatoa! And they all come running.
I'll give it a try. I don't know how many owl babies you have. I don't know if mine will respond well.
Also, I'll be going through your wallet and taking all the money out.
Good luck. I told you I have 5 kids. There's no money in my wallet.
Woo! And that's the real wisdom nugget, everybody. If you want to be rich, then have lots of kids. Woo! Well, thanks for coming on my show.
Thank you.
This isn't
so
Sean
much
and
for
Ben's
having
show.
me.
This is my show.
Well, thank you for having me. It has been an honor and a privilege.
I'm an owl. I'm a real owl.
Yes, Hootsie, you're an owl.
Woo! Hey, Ben.
Yeah, Hootsie.
I'm going to put your hand in a bear trap when you sleep tonight.
Well, that's just wonderful.
Woo!
I
Thank you,
appreciate it.
Pastor Sean.
Thank you.
I'm
Bye,
going to eat some
Hootsie.
yogurt.
All right, go get your yogurt. Okay, there we go. Thank you, Pastor Sean, so much for letting Hootsie impart his wisdom. You know.
It was an experience I will never forget.
Oh, it's always an experience. My goodness. Well, is Pastor Sean back in the house? The other Pastor Sean?
Back. What happened? Did I miss it?
Yes, you missed it. All of it.
All of it?
Yeah, it was a little crazy.
Well, Sean is still here. Are we still friends?
We are still friends. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Sean, I can't say thank you enough for being a part of this craziness and this unrefined show that will someday win an Academy Award.
I don't doubt that you are in store for many, many awards, and I appreciate the invite to come inside your head and see what's going on in here.
Oh, well, it's a messy place. So I will be praying for you that you find someone to partner with in your kids' ministry. And if something happens at Destiny and I burn the place down, I'll be calling you.
Well, thank you.
But we'll be in touch, my friend, and thank you so much for all of this. And again, if you guys are out there looking to be a part of the Kingdom of God in relation to kids ministry, then you got to go to Adobe in Sonoma County. So, Pastor Sean, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. Well, that's the show for today. I'm going to work on next week fixing this echo issue because, Ben,
Yeah.
this echo issue, it's just no
Killing
good, Ben.
me.
Like
Yeah.
this, watch. Boom. See how I just did that?
You did. That was amazing.
All right, you guys, thanks for coming out to next week. We're going to have another amazing topic for you next Monday at 4 o'clock. However, Ben, you're not going to be here.
I won't be here. Yeah.
We're going to have a guest Ben.
guest Ben.
It'll
Can
be
he
a guest Ben.
guest Ben?
A guest Ben.
Well, awesome.
It'll be
Yeah.
a guest Ben.
Cool.
So, Ben, enjoy being gone next week,
Vacation.
but
Oh,
don't
yeah.
enjoy it too much.
I won't enjoy it. I'll
And
miss
you know what I just realized?
What?
What if you're not actually on vacation, but you're interviewing at Pastor Sean's church next week?
What do you mean? Wait, say again?
I don't know. I'm trying to play off of the joke. Like, you know, anyways, we
Wait.
got to end the show.
I might have missed it. Okay.
All right, you guys, thanks so much for watching. This has been In My Head. We'll talk to you guys next time.
Time.